How's it going, Ram fans? I am Ethan Bird, joined by Rachel Hallam, Ellison, Hubbard, and Hunter Fillmore for the last week of Down in the DMs. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Doing good. Doing
Awesome.
great.
So let's roll right on into it. Our first question comes from Bongles16 on Instagram, and he was asking about our impressions of the NFL draft, which we did last week. So I thought, what was your biggest surprises from the draft, y'all?
Well, I guess I could start it off. I would say Green Bay drafting Jordan Love was probably the biggest surprise for anybody. You know, I did say that Jordan Love would get drafted earlier in the round, but probably by the Chargers, not Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers needs some help out there, wide receiver. And you go out and draft Jordan Love, you know, they look back, they tried to compare it to when Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers was drafted. And Brett Favre was kind of concerned, you know. So I think, you know, we're kind of – are we seeing the end to Aaron Rodgers, or is he going to get traded? You never know. I think that was the biggest surprise right there. And then my other surprise would be the Jets getting MEKHI BECTON. And, you know, I saw that Robbie was traded away from the Jets as a wide receiver. So I was thinking they would pick up maybe Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, all on the line to pick up a great wide receiver out there. But I guess they felt they needed to go old tackle right away. And usually O-linemen do last a long time. So, you know, it was a smart pick to get the 6'7", 364-pounder. So, you know, those are my surprises right there, the Jets and Green Bay. So.
All right, well, I'm going to bring it right back to what you started with Green Bay. I think that was a huge surprise. I don't think anyone would have expected that. I don't even think Aaron Rodgers was expecting that. I don't think he was expecting a quarterback to be coming in behind him. Now he's just hearing footsteps coming up behind him. The Packers are seems like the Packers are trying to get him out, push him out a little slowly. But it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, especially the fact that they traded with the Dolphins to go from the 30th pick to the 26th pick to pick up Jordan Love. I mean, I don't understand why they really needed to do that. They don't need a quarterback, like you said. They needed wide receivers. They need targets for Aaron Rodgers. They need something to help him out, but that's not what they picked up. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They need those weapons, and Rodgers is still a good quarterback. He's had a little bit of a rough patch, but he's still a great quarterback, and he's doing really good things for the Packers. Like I said, he just needs the help, and I think that to pick up a quarterback that's going to be sitting behind him for at least another season, maybe more, just because it's his rookie season, Rodgers is not slowing down. I just think this was kind of a strange pick for the Packers to pick up.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're both saying. Like you said, Rodgers, he has 4 more years on that contract. I mean, you don't really see him picking up a quarterback here. It's not what they needed. They need a receiver. You look at Devontae Adams, he's the highest targeted player. He had 127 targets, and the next closest was 68 targets. Teams are triple teaming him because they know that's who they're going to go to. The Packers were 1 game away from the Super Bowl. They were right there, and you just need that last piece in that offense, and you would have been in the Super Bowl. So I think, like you're both saying, and also they go in the second round and get a running back. They already have running backs. That's another really bad spot to get into, and I just don't understand the Packers pick there either. And the other pick that I thought was really surprising that's going to be helpful for this team in the future and currently is the Eagles picking up Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to be one of those quarterbacks that you can use pretty much anywhere on the field. He's going to be like a Taysom Hill. He's going to be like Lamar Jackson, where you can put him in, you can run options. It's going to be another area where they can work on. And Sal Palantonio for ESPN reported that Doug Peterson plans on using Hurts in that offense right away. So that's an interesting pickup, and I think it's going to be really important for the Eagles because that's another aspect that they can add to their offense.
But I feel like what we saw in this draft was a lot of quarterback insecurity, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense with the quarterbacks that we're looking at in Aaron Rodgers and Carson Wentz. We're both guys that I don't think I've really doubted at all too much their ability over the last 2 seasons. Maybe Carson's back a little bit, but also Jake Fromm went to the Bills, another place where there's a pretty entrenched quarterback. So I think that's been more of a surprise for anyone in this draft. We're watching this draft, and everybody, like, there were the teams who needed a quarterback, and it felt like at some point teams that didn't need him just started to roll, which was very surprising. But this wasn't so much as a surprise pick. It was a smart pick, but I didn't think it was a pick that was going to happen, was Jerry Jeudy to the Broncos. I was very happy about that, but I was just so surprised that Jerry Jeudy would drop that far. I mean, almost CeeDee Lamb was within 3 picks, and then, you know, the boulder drove with all of the wide receivers coming off the board pretty quick. But I just had to get that little plug in there, because not in a million years did I think Jerry Jeudy would fall to the Broncos and Drew Lock.
Absolutely. I totally thought that was a surprise too. I mean, Jerry Jeudy and Lamb both fell behind Henry Ruggs. I just thought, I don't know. I mean, Henry Ruggs, he's a great wide receiver. I just didn't expect him to be the first of the wide receivers to be taken off the board. So it was huge it was huge for the Raiders. They did pick up a good wide receiver, but I think that there was definitely better players on the lineup still for them to pick up. And I was so shocked that both CeeDee and Jerry fell so far.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we're all kind of in agreement with how surprising the NFL draft was this year, but let's move on to the next question, one that's very highly debated all the time, MJ or LeBron?
Ooh, Ethan, you want to get this one?
I just feel like this is like the most debated question in our sports memory. I mean, it's going to be a timeless discussion for as long as the NBA is going around, and it's hard. It's a very, very, very hard thing to come to an answer with, because I love both MJ and LeBron, but I guess we'll see how this affects y'all. I'm not under the Last Dance bias mirror. I mean, the same thing's going to happen when Bron gets his docuseries. But anyway, just for me personally, it's Bron, and you can bring up all the stats that you want. And I mean, it's all been said over a million times, but I mean, their games aren't that comparable. But what really gets me the most is when people say that Bron wouldn't be dropping 40 and 50 in the MJ era. But I'm not even going to get into that. I'm just going to say LeBron James.
Wow.
Someone else is taking away.
Wow, if you want to go there, Ethan, we'll go there. I'm taking MJ all day. We can go on all sides of the game, outside of the game, whatever you want to talk about. It's MJ all day. We're talking about the brand he's built, where people are lining up outside of stores to buy his shoes. We're talking about the points he dropped per game, 30-plus points a game. He can snap his fingers and switch the whole game, and he wins the game. I mean, you see the documentary going on here. Can LeBron just snap his fingers and take the game away? I don't think he can, because if he could, he would have beat the Warriors.
Have you watched an NBA Finals in the past decade?
Would he have beaten the Warriors? I think Micheal Jordan would have beat the Warriors. That's personally what I think, you know? So I'm just saying, out of the years that MJ has played, he has done a lot. And, you know, LeBron's been when I looked up the years, LeBron has been in the league longer than MJ, and MJ still has done more. So I'm sticking wholeheartedly with Micheal Jordan until I die, basically, that Micheal Jordan is going to do or has done more than LeBron James will do.
No, that's your prerogative. That is your right.
All right, well, for me, I think it's plain and simple. MJ, too. I'm agreeing with you there, Ellison. I think that this was kind of an easy choice for me to make. I mean, you just look at it, 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 5 MVPs versus LeBron's 3 champs, 4 MVPs, 3 final MVPs. I mean, they're both fantastic players. Don't get me wrong. They both have changed the game in more ways than one, and they're still changing the game. I mean, we're still talking about MJ. He hasn't been in the game for a long time, and everyone's still talking about him. People are looking up to him. They're the reason that they're going into the league sometimes, because they've grown up watching him. I just think that the part that gets to me is that MJ was 6'6". He was not necessarily one of the taller people, and he was kind of underrated until he went to UNC, and he was really looked at. And for me, that was just big, because I've always grown up the smaller one, and I've had to fight for that too. And to see somebody like that just kind of overcome a disadvantage in a way when you're going into that kind of a league with the NBA, just all these players around you, just freaking monsters. I mean, that to me was the biggest difference.
This is probably one of the most difficult questions because I am such a LeBron fan. I love LeBron. And the thing that bothers me about this question the most is the fact that so much hatred comes for LeBron. Like, everybody is always trying to knock down LeBron in his game just because he is compared to Jordan. That's the problem with me, that they compare him. I don't think you can compare these two. In their respective times, they are the best players. But in a very close battle, I think Jordan is going to come out with it undefeated in the championship. It's just something that you can't argue with. Jordan's a better scorer, but LeBron on the other side is a better facilitator. He's better at rebounding. There's just so many back and forths that you can go with. I think Jordan, just the thing that puts him over the top for me is the fact that he is such an icon. LeBron's an icon in his own, but Jordan is the top athlete of all time. Whenever you talk to anybody, I think that's just what puts him ahead. Not necessarily playing, but just as what he's done for the game, he is a top of LeBron. So that's how it comes down for me.
It's also hard to think about it as a single player being better than somebody else, because both of these guys have had teams behind them that have helped them so much. I mean, Ethan, you bring up The Last Dance. They always talk about Scottie Pippen being his number 2 for MJ, and MJ always talks about how he couldn't do it without him or the rest of the team behind him. And I just think that it's so hard to compare the two because they had so many great players with them, and they weren't just a one-man band the entire time.
The thing that contradicts there when you say that they both had players, LeBron's done it with 2 teams. I believe that he can do it with this Lakers team in the future.
Yeah.
So then you have that aspect that Jordan did it with this Bulls team, but then LeBron's doing it with different players. So that's another aspect that comes in and really affects me because it's just so hard to choose between the two.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Ethan. Go ahead.
I just have to say one thing that rubbed me the wrong way, and I just want to say it. And so the thing, I don't like how people always bring up the MVP conversation, because if you look at today's NBA, the MVP competition is so much tighter in today's NBA. I mean, you've got all these guys are perennial. Like, you can't choose preseason which one of these guys who could make a run for the MVP. You got Bron, you got KD, you got Kyrie, you got James Harden, you've got Russ, you've got Steph. I mean, you've got Giannis, you got Kawhi, you got Nikola Jokic. I mean, I just think that the player pool is so much deeper right now in today's NBA. The MVP conversation just.
But see, that's just why it's so hard to compare the two, because they're in such different times and leagues. Really, if you think about it, there's so many different players in MJ's, and now there's so many different players in LeBron's era, and those 2 eras are just so hard to compare to each other because they're so different.
Yeah, and I agree, because nobody's out here 6'8", 260 slamming the ball over people like LeBron James. And then you look at Michael Jordan, they called him Black Jesus. Like, you have people selling out arenas to watch him. You go play the Hawks at their place. The fans are there to watch Michael Jordan. So, yeah, we are in 2 different eras. LeBron is doing his thing now. Michael Jordan did his thing then. So you really can't compare, compare the competition, because we don't know what Michael Jordan could have done now. You don't know what LeBron James could have done against Magic Johnson and Will Chamberlain. So I love LeBron. He is a great player, and I love Michael, but all day it's going to be Michael. So that's where we're going to go here. We're going to end it with the minds everywhere, but I think we're going to just close here. Thank you for tuning in on our final Down in the DMs. It's been a wonderful semester. My first time being on the show with these wonderful, wonderful people, this awesome crew. I thank you guys for watching us. We will be back in the fall semester, so please tune in and invite us into your home once again for Down in the DMs and more CTV Sports.